I don't want to take all of your time, so we can start right away. So I'm calling to order for the meeting for LCIS. We have Kirby, we have Derek Lacey, we have Mr. Gomez, we have John Porter, we have
Bobby.
We have Bobby Gonzalez and Maita, who's on the phone. Yeah. So we do have quorum.
Hey, y'all. I also just joined. This is Roger.
Oh, hi, Roger. Roger.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to skip the Pledge of Allegiance unless everybody wants to do it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead with, I already called the roll. I'm just going to go straight to the public comments.
Hey, Marcela?
Yes.
Really quickly, I'm seeing like a grayed out box in front of the agenda, like on the top left. Is anybody else seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, your mouse is right over it.
And
yeah.
Actually, is this something that I'm moving?
That's your mouse. Yeah, it's your cursor.
But that's not what that's not what you see.
No, I like where your cursor is right now. I see it's a rectangular box, but it's all gray. I don't know what you see in your computer.
I can't see any of that, and I don't know why that happens, but sometimes it happens. I have seen this before in other meetings.
Okay, can you scroll the agenda to the right? Like, can you move it to the right or no?
No, I can't.
Okay, that's fine. No worries.
Let me see if I can make it a little bit. Can you see it even if it's small? Or can you still see the thing with the gray box?
Let me see. That's fine. That's okay.
Okay. So, okay, so we're open to public comments. If anybody has a comment, or I don't know if anybody else has joined us.
Okay, for me, right now.
Okay. So I'm going to go now to the minutes for February. Guillermo just sent us those minutes. So if you have, they are in your email. I'm gonna try to open my minutes here. Yes. So these are the minutes for February.
I move to approve the minutes.
I second. Bobby.
One more person second.
I second. It only takes one person to second though, Marcelo.
I thought it was two. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the minutes are fine. We can move to the next item.
Correct. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to do a virtual sign-in sheet, so I'm kind of marking you guys that are here. The only ones that I don't have here are Coach Gomez, Roger Garcia, Gabriela Fernandez, and Ceci Cisneros.
Hey, Guillermo.
Gabriela Fernandez is present.
Who is?
And
Gabriela Fernandez. I'm
Oh, hey,
Gabriela
Gabriela.
Fernandez.
Sorry about that.
Hi, it's okay.
Okay, you're
and
in.
Roger Garcia too.
Okay.
And Guillermo, this is John. I just got a text from JJ. He says he's trying to log on, having trouble.
Okay, I saw him get on, but then jump off, so,
Okay.
but I got him marked in.
Okay, so let's go next to the discussion of updates. I mean, we have the funding. Do you want to talk about the funding, Bobby, very quickly?
Yeah, so we submitted a finance plan, and we were able to get a check released, which was deposited, and there's now, can you click second? $125,091.57 in the bank, in the bank account. The 9157 is part of what I had deposited because there were fees being taken out, but the money is in the account. Right?
Awesome. So one of the items that I have here for discussion is you have some money in the bank. So how much money do we owe you?
Okay, there's the $91.57 which are currently in there, and then there was a total of $123.92 that I paid in fees since September. That's $15.49 each month.
And that's just money that you spent out of your own pocket in order to keep the account open because we were waiting on the
Right.
check from the city to come in.
Correct. Yeah, basically I put money in there so the fees
Correct.
could be covered.
Oh, okay, well, I move that we reimburse Bobby in the total amount that he has just described.
I second that.
Also, I want to talk to you about money that the volunteers, Derek and Melly they have used for the Canseco Garden. So Derek, do you have receipts? Is there some, like, I know that you have spent quite a amount of money. So you want to talk about that?
Well, I can't speak for Melly. I know the money that I spent has been reimbursed.
Good.
Yeah, Priscilla sent me a check for that because it came out of the farmers market fund. And I don't have any other expenses, but so I believe that we're clear there.
Okay, great. Priscilla, do you want to talk about the farmers market fund for a second, please, so we know what Derek is talking about?
Yes, of course. So prior to LCUAS having, a status or any bank account or anything, we kind of set up like a verbal agreement that any produce that was sold at our farmers market, we would get, there was a portion that was split between Laredo Main Street and Laredo Center for Urban Ag. But we would keep the LCUAS like in a pot in our account. And so what would happen is as more funds were being put in there from the different produce that we would sell, Berman, if he needed, seed or he needed gloves or anything like that, he would just send me over the receipts and then we would reimburse him. So there was still a couple of funds left. I think it was like $140 odd, something like that. And so Mr. Lacey went ahead and contacted me with his receipts and we reimbursed him those funds that he used.
Is there a possibility, I don't know how much money is left on the account, I have no idea. Is there a possibility that you can send us that money, a check, so we can make a deposit in our account? So we have all the money together?
Yes, so the last reimbursement that we gave to Mr. Lacey was the last of the funds that were there. But I have a worksheet where we would put what was put in and then what was taken out and stuff like that. That way we can just have the breakdown of that. But currently there is no more funds in that. That was the last of the funds that we have.
Oh, perfect. So, I mean, if you can send that sheet to Marie, because he's our treasurer, and me, that we can have all the documents for LCIS.
Yes, of course. A lot of those funds also were generated through the first CMSA pilot program that we did with Berman, I think maybe a year ago. He had a lot of produce that was left over and we put it into boxes and he sold those boxes. That's where the majority of those funds came from. But as I mentioned, every Saturday when he would give us produce, we would, it would kind of start accumulating there. So I'll send you guys over that information.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Gomez just finally got checked in from Parks.
Oh, hi. Good. Awesome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see everyone again.
Awesome. Okay. So, I mean, in terms of the farmers market agreement and the selling boxes and selling some of the produce, and Derek can also talk about that. So a quick update in terms, I mean, I sent this on my email, but we are now going back to the garden. The volunteers are, and one person from Parks, right, Mr. Gomez? Is going every weekend.
Correct. Every weekend we have somebody there.
Right, and they are working on the garden. So right now we are not selling any of the produce. What we're doing, what they did last week at least, was to give it away to just people that live around that community that were walking around. So Derek, if you want to give us a little, like just 2 minutes of what happened and how this was received by the community. I think it's important to know what's going on in the garden because that's what we are here for.
Yeah. So just with the awareness that the last harvest or 2 weekends ago was going to be the biggest harvest yet, we wanted to assure that we didn't have any food that was going to waste. I know the timing was pretty good when we put the plants into the ground and the seeds, and then we were locked out for a bit because of quarantine. We got everything in the ground just in time for it to grow on its own, and we lost things here and there from not being able to go back right away. But for the most part, everything was salvaged, and so we got to the point where the first time we did a harvest, or the last time before quarantine that we did a harvest, we get to this point, we don't have a refrigerator there that sometimes there's just, we don't realize what's available until we start picking. And sometimes it adds up and then we don't want to waste any food. So what we planned ahead of time was organizing of food into little bags, and we wanted to just figure a way to neatly, safely pass this out to the community. So Marcela and I brainstormed, and we ended up coming up with the idea of just putting out a table and seeing who, if anybody walking by, driving by wanted to come get some. So it turns out we were able to put about 25 bags of produce with squash and tomatoes and onions and chard and a few other things, some herbs, quite plentiful. And I mean, as soon as we put the first 3 bags up there, people were driving up and taking them. So it honestly felt like working at a restaurant where you were busy and you almost couldn't keep up with the demand. So that was pretty cool to see that people, to me, what it said, the really, really good bigger picture sign to me, it said that people are paying attention to what's going on there, that they appreciate what's going on there. We always hear honks when we're working out there, people saying hi. And there's obviously this awareness and an excitement from people, because without having to advertise or anything, they just immediately drove up and lined up, so to speak, to pick up the food. So that's probably our for the spring until next fall. That's probably the most plentiful harvest we'll get. We're still going to have some other things coming up. But that was, I thought, very successful in my year and a half or so at the garden. That was the first, what I think is the true community garden experience, where the gardeners that did the digging and planting, and then the maintenance, got to actually share that with the community. That's just one way a community garden can work. So I thought overall the whole thing was perfect.
We are super excited. I'm really super excited. We have been doing a couple of sharing also in our garden, and I'm talking about Tommy Yu's garden. Tomorrow we're gonna give out also some produce to students, and I think, like you said, Derek, that's the main goal of the gardens, that you can actually share with people, that the community get involved somehow. One of the things that right now can happen is like recruit more volunteers. It would be a great opportunity to recruit more volunteers, but given the situation, we just can't. But I just want you to be aware that these things are happening, that our volunteers continue to work on the gardens, and that they are sharing what they are getting to other people. So I'm just gonna move to the next item, which is the list. Thank you so much, Derek, for actually working at the garden and organizing the event. I think that's very important. And if any of the board—
Mr. Gomez, if I can intercede real quick. Anything else, Mr. Derek, or Mr. that you need from us to keep it going? Anything else that we can help you with?
No, everything so far has been working out. We've had access to the tools, supplies. So yeah, at the moment, I would say the only thing, I don't know if this is the right format for it, but it is my understanding that there is some type of refrigerator that was purchased for the garden sitting somewhere on city property. So that is a very important thing. I know it was ordered and designed to fit appropriately in the carriage house there, but that would be an amazing resource moving forward, so that we don't lose any harvest and just have a little bit more liberty in being able to harvest and share with everybody going forward.
Okay, Derek, I'll look into it. Let's see what we can find out about that. Okay, thank you.
That would be great. I think that a refrigerator is really great. We need one for sure. And I know how challenging it is to work without a refrigerator. So if Mr. Gomez can let us know if there is anything, that would be great. If not, we're gonna have to work in terms of the budget or a grant or something to figure out how can we provide for our refrigerator. Which,
excuse me, can I jump in real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
So I was out at the Conseco house, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, just looking at what the improvements they're doing inside, and the people I was with, I was with the Public Works Director, and he was saying that the previous councilman bought a refrigerator, and that's in the carriage house. Do you know anything about that, JJ?
No, John, I haven't heard that one, but first time I hear about it, but I'll definitely look into it right now. I mean, we're done. Let's see what I can find.
That's the same refrigerator I was
We
talking
may
about.
have one. It's just sitting in the carriage house.
Okay. We'll look into it.
Well, there is nothing in the carriage house. There is no refrigerator in the carriage house. But there was one, my understanding is that one was already purchased and it's for the carriage house and it's a big walk-in refrigerator. So the dimensions were ordered to fit specifically in one half of the carriage house. So it's a pretty big refrigerator. It'd be hard to lose that one.
Yeah, if it's already been ordered and paid for,
Right.
we just need to track down where.
You got to track it down, see where it's at. I'll look into it definitely as soon as we're done here. Get y'all a response.
That would be awesome. And I think it's super funny that we have such a big refrigerator meeting. I'm sorry, it's funny too. But if you can find it, it would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Somebody's living in it, I think. It's like an Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere house is just like right there. Okay, awesome. Hold on, let me find.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I make this with all due respect, and please don't take this wrong, but where are we on the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. We are on item number 6. We were talking about the reimbursement for money for volunteers, and we deviate to talk about the refrigerator.
Right.
We were talking about the activity that the volunteers had in terms of the not doing the farmers market. We're not selling the product right now. What we're doing is actually giving away the product right now. So in fact, we don't have any kind of, we're not receiving any money for this.
So I think moving forward, we need to kind of make the agenda in such a way that we can adapt to these types of discussions, because basically what we're talking about is not on the agenda, even though it sounds like it really should be.
Okay.
So I don't know if we're going to run into any problems later on down the line, but I'm just kind of throwing that out there on the board so everybody can consider, I guess, for future discussions.
I guess this is just a new item that we just found out, like, okay, there was a refrigerator that at some point was purchased and we don't know where it is. It's interesting. Okay. So, and then, okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so here I am. So we are on item number 6, and then we're talking about the lease agreement right now for the Canseco house, and this is a very important item because I just realized that we need to probably modify our lease agreement. So I wasn't aware that the original agreement with the city, when we were funded or found, like we were created as an organization, as the type of organization that we are, which is, well, it doesn't matter, local corporate association. When that happens, that means that we are depending also on the city. So one of the things that I was not aware is that the garden grounds are actually going to be managed by City of Laredo, which means that the Parks and Recreation Department, Mr. Gomez, is taking care of the grounds of the garden, and the lease agreement was only for the carriage house. I was not aware of that. So when we sent the proposal for the lease agreement, what we have right now is the carriage house and the garden grounds of the Canseco building. So we need to modify these to only be the carriage house if we want the garden grounds to still be part of the Parks Department. I think that there are a lot of benefits in terms of only having the agreement for the carriage house and having the support. And I think this is the most important thing that we need to understand, having the support from Parks and Recreation to maintain, to keep up with the grounds. I know that we have the volunteers working on them, on the grounds, but we need to, we will not have to spend as much money as we could if we have to maintain the garden ourselves. So all the money that we have in terms of the funds that we receive will go to actually making sure that we accomplish our mission, which is having the garden, which having educational programs at the garden, which is having building the food system at the city. So we have to think about our mission and how helping, like actually having the grounds for the Parks and Recreation or the support from Parks and Recreation actually help us with this to accomplish that mission. So the proposal is to change the lease agreement to only have the lease for the garden ground.
The carriage house, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry, the carriage house, yes.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes.
I think that the garden grounds need to be in there. If not, then essentially the garden grounds are public. If the organization wants to grow things there and sell them at a farmer's market, or do whatever we're going to do with it, we need to have a legal right to that area. Otherwise, it's public. And if I want to go and pick a bunch of squash or onions or whatever, or anybody else wants to go do that, they legally can go do that. We don't have a claim to that. And therefore, I think if we're going to grow these vegetables and give them to the community or whatever the plans are, I think we need to have that included in the lease agreement.
Yeah, I would think so too. And not only that, but how what comes to mind is if the city is in charge of the grounds, then how does the LCUAS kind of, can we dictate, because it's supposed to be created using organic methods and principles of sustainability. So how would the city, I guess, we'd have to, I guess, find a way to synchronize with the city on making sure that goal is met. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that. And if they're the lessor, then in any situation, wouldn't they be in charge of certain maintenance requirements as well? Isn't that automatically, once we rent just the garden grounds, for instance, doesn't that make the city the landlord, and therefore they wouldn't do the gardening necessarily, but overgrowth and things like that, if there's any issues with plumbing?
I am worried about those type of issues.
Yeah, also,
That would have to be stipulated in the contract, though.
yeah, if I can make a quick comment also, I think it's important to also remember that councilwoman or man is only there for a certain period of time. And we wouldn't want to run into the issue where right now we have our councilman on board, but then the next councilman or woman that comes in is kind of not into the whole thing and wants to use those grounds for something else. And we've already, done 8 years of work on the property, So I think that that would be a good, I think we need to have some type of right to that, to the land there, the grounds there.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so we're talking about rights to the land or rights to the grounds, or also in terms of what kind of methods we're using for growing the vegetables, and we have a say on that. But we do need the help from the Department from Parks and Recreation to maintain in terms of plumbing and other issues that can come up. And it might be very expensive for us. We might not be able to actually cover those expenses with whatever funding we have. So, I mean, Mr. Gomez, if you want to just give us a little bit of light about what you think and what could be a good agreement in this sense. I mean, what can we expect, or what is something that is feasible? That is
right. So I'm kind of relate this to, for example, like the Max. It comes to the city. We have a management company that runs it, but anything that breaking down, we're responsible for property. Or anything that's broken down is, if something happens to the clubhouse, something happens, then we go out there, we send our staff to go get it fixed. Okay, that is part of the contract. And again, I'm kind of using the Max as an example, that in the contract we could put the city of Laredo still responsible for upkeeping the plumbing, the anything that comes with the territory. Something happens over there, the management company is responsible for operations, but yet if it's something that needs to get fixed, the city, we're responsible to go get it taken care of. Same thing with Unitrade. The Unitrade is part of the city. We have a management company running out the Tecolotes, but anything happens to the building or anything in the city, we are in charge of maintain it. So we can kind of use it at the same avenue as that as well.
I like that. That is really good. So City of Laredo is in charge of maintenance, but we are responsible of management.
Yes, ma'am. Operations of every day, but anything that happens with maintenance and all that, the city of Laredo still, we are in charge of going and fixing. We can't, then we go outsource it, but pretty much we try to do it ourselves in-house.
Yeah, and then in that way you can have some kind of profit or sell or whatever, like the same way that they do with the Tecolotes or whatever team.
Correct. It's a very minimal 10-15% that we get back, from that, but it's more of them. It's more for us helping them out, helping maintaining our properties for the city.
This is really good. Thank you. Okay, so we need to add that to the lease agreement, right? I have it here. It's not quite there as we have talked about it. So that's one of the things that we need to talk. The other question that I have is, okay, so the rental obligation, we have talked about $1 per year, but I don't really know. I mean, we as leasers, we can decide the price, but who should be in charge of this? And also, I mean, I'm just a little bit, that was blank on the lease agreement, so I just want to know who should make those decisions, and we want to, I mean, we want to go with that person and say, okay, yeah, it's going to be $1 a year, a month, I'm sorry, $12 per year. And if anybody knows, I mean, people from City of Laredo, please help us here.
So I don't have that in front of me, but does it say $1 or are you proposing $1?
I'm proposing $1.
Let's just put it in there, and then if the city wants to counter, the city can counter, but I'm fine with putting $1 in there.
I agree, or I second.
Okay, motion. Okay, perfect. Motion to approve the changes in the lease agreement.
I second.
Yes. Pass.
Yes.
Everybody in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Anybody is not liking the changes? Okay, so next item on the agenda is number 7, discussion of board insurance. Right now, we now have the money to pay for the board insurance, and I know John was working on that. You want to give us an update, John?
Sure. So when we got the budget for the 125,000, I sent that to TML, and then I hadn't heard from them. And then I got a call earlier this week from our risk manager who handles the insurance for the city, and said that the city's premium had gone up. And so they had put this insurance under the city. So I talked to TML, they're going to reverse that, and then they're going to send me a quote. And as soon as I get that quote, I'll send it to everybody.
And then also, okay, so discussion of possible action for the executive director position. We have the money also, so this is very important. We have the money, we can hire someone right now, which I think someone will really be happy in the middle of a health and economic crisis to actually be able to have employment. I think it's very exciting. I am expecting a lot of applications. So these are, this is the final document. The one that I'm showing is the final document. I created a Gmail account for us that is lcisboard@gmail.com, and anybody that would like to submit their application need to send a letter of interest and a resume to that email. So I will share with everybody else as we get applications. And when is the deadline to apply? That's another.
Can you email that out? Because I can't see it. Or is it in a previous email?
It was in a previous email, but I can email for sure this one.
The latest version you have.
Yeah, the latest version. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, because it didn't show up on the screen.
Oh, okay. You can see, any of you can see that?
No, it's gray.
Okay. So when is the deadline to apply? June 30th? June 20th.
I think that would be June 30 would be a good time frame, and then from there we see how many applicants or viable applicants we have, and then if we need to extend it, we can extend it from there.
Right. I honestly think that we're gonna have enough applicants. So the other thing is, I mean, there were a couple of wording issues. Is in collaboration with the center's treasurer, and I'm thinking maybe we can have with the board of directors, or is just working with the treasurer okay with you?
Could you repeat that last part, Dr. Oliva? Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna send all of you these, so you have the final version, and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, it doesn't have a subject. I just sent the document to you all. Okay, so there is a sentence on page that says, we'll work collaboratively with city, with center's treasurer. So is this something that you want to keep, to have center's treasurer, or maybe add board of directors? That's the question.
What was your question again?
Essential function number 4 says, in collaboration with the center's treasurer. Are we okay with center's treasurer or board of directors?
Is there any mention of working with the board of directors, or is that the only sentence? I haven't received the email yet.
I think I'm with Marcela and Dr. Oliva, sorry, on changing it to board of directors just to keep it broad, with the understanding that the treasurer is most likely going to give the final, authorization or a final recommendation. And with the other essential functions, you see that it's broad on strategies for board of directors. I think it just keeps the openness so that any of us can discuss the annual budget in a meaningful way with the executive director. I think that's where she's trying to go.
The essential function 2 lists, I guess, some broad directives on what to work with the board of directors for.
I mean, I would say with any nonprofit or the city, like city manager, he has 9 bosses. And so I think, yeah, typically it'd be the board of directors that would formulate policy that the executive director would carry out.
Yeah, that's true, because it all has to be approved by the board anyway. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so motion to change to board of directors.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
In favor?
Aye.
Yes, aye.
Favor.
Aye.
Aye.
While we're talking about the executive director, I'd like to mention someone who I think would be great for it. I know I've talked to Dr. Uribe about it, but now that we're on the board meeting, I wanted to mention there's a man named Jose Barrientos. I met him a few months ago, and he essentially did a similar project in Dallas, executed it well, connected all the different communities, impoverished and churches, and he had this whole logistics network that he built out in Dallas and would like to do it here in Laredo through our organization. And the name of it, just in case if y'all would like to look into it on your own time, is the program is essentially EPA's food hierarchy or food recovery hierarchy. That's the plan he'd like to execute. And I'd love to talk about that next time, maybe set some time aside for him to discuss that with us or present, or at least just get us some better insight as to what that might look like for our organization.
I am a little bit, okay, so what I think needs to happen, Roger, just based on my experience on hiring someone here at TAMIU, is that person needs to go through the process of applying first, and then we can hear about the options, right, that he can bring to the table during the interview if we choose this person to actually have the position. I mean, I'm super interested. I think it's just aligning very well with what our mission is, but I will say, please ask this person to apply and just let him know that we will be looking for applications very, very soon. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. He'll go through the process of applying and, you know, all the formalities that we need to do with this
Right.
sort of city bureaucracy and everything. But I think it'd be good for us to start learning about what we want to do with the project, right? What's the mission of what we're doing here? And I
Right.
think he can give us a lot of color and insight. Willingly, you know, he's not going to hold us to it, you know, to hiring him if we don't, if he presents. It's more about, you know, him educating us as to something that the federal government has sort of given a lot of resources to, and it'd be great for us to start getting into the mentality of what it would take to execute something like this. And yes, you know, I'm with you, and he understands that he would have to go through the whole process formally whenever the time comes. But just in the meanwhile, it'd be great for us to learn about it.
the other thing is that, and I'm super happy that you're bringing, because I think that we all have forgotten what the mission of LCIS is. And
Right.
if you would like to go back, and we all need to go back to the original document where this organization was created, I will send that document, and I can send, like, there's a PowerPoint that is accessible for the general public, and that has the goals for LCIS. And I think we need to go back and revisit those goals, because once we figure out the money, we need to work towards actually achieving those goals. So I'm going to send this afternoon, again, the goals for the organization, so we are all in the same page, because I think we are forgetting what happened when we were created. I wasn't there when it was created. This is, it's not news to me, but I been struggling with, so what are our goals and what is our mission? So I think that we need to start thinking about what are our goals and what is our mission, so we as a board are in the same page and we can move forward with those, because that is what is holding us accountable with city manager, because that's what the money was given to. Okay, so
Yeah, definitely, I'm with you.
And I have those, so I have that question about the board of directors, and then there's another in also after item number, the job summary. It says additional hours will be necessary during peak periods to attend events. This take into account the 40 to 60 hour work week. And I don't know if it's legal to have a 60-hour work week. I know some of us work 60 hours, but I don't know if it's legal to have it in that job description.
Because as long as it's exempt.
And maybe not using that language, but I think additional hours will be necessary during peak periods implies that without qualifying it.
Yeah, just in case.
Right,
That's not legal, because I need to blame someone.
exactly.
Yeah, if you go to a restaurant, you got a lot of complaining to do.
And then there is at least 2 years of experience in nonprofit management and or at least 2 years of experience working in environmental science or horticulture, and all the preferred qualifications. So if you are okay with this, we can start circulating the director's position, and we can post in our social media. You can share with people that would be interested in this position, and then we can move forward. So, and then,
Also, sorry,
Yes.
I'd like to comment. I just noticed it says required qualifications, bachelor's degree. Is that really necessary? I mean, I don't know, that maybe it's preferred qualifications, but is it really required?
you're asking the wrong person. I'm going to leave it to the board, but
I think we'll know. I think the right person will be the right person, and maybe horticultural experience preferred.
I thought we had referred in there one of the original ones. I don't quite remember.
Yeah, because right now it's under required, and I just want to make sure, as long as we understand, right, that like if the right person comes along, it's not totally required, you know. I would just say that to be a limiting factor.
So right now, the only required qualification is to have the experience, like the bachelor's degree. That's the only required qualification.
Right, but I think we should remove this or make it a preferred rather than a required.
So what are our required qualifications then?
I don't think there is a required one, just the right person for the job.
Exactly.
It's pretty unique. It's a really unique position.
Right.
It's not for, there isn't somebody who does this somewhere else exactly the way that you're doing it here. So I think it's something that we groom, or, you know, that not necessarily groom, but I think the right person will groom themselves into the position, but it just has to be somebody who understands food sustainability and is excited about it. And then we all, like, as a board, kind of get a feeling that they feel that way too. It's my opinion.
Exactly.
Grant
Yeah,
management
exactly.
funding is essential function also. I think the person that's gonna have this position needs to be a really good writer. As a person coming from the university setting, I believe in some academic qualifications, and that's why I believe in a bachelor's degree as at least the minimum. But of course, I'm completely biased in an academic setting.
Most of my friends with degrees can't form a sentence, so I mean, we can always answer as like a breaking a tie, you know, thing. But
You know, I think that the qualifications we have on the job qualification paper is probably adequate to attract participants or attract applicants. Let's not beat ourselves up over this. Let's look and see who applies. No matter what, we're probably all going to look at every single application. You know, we'll come up with some sort of little form where we can rate them. We'll interview them, and then together we can make our judgment, and we'll find the best candidate. You know, we'll all talk about it and, you know, go back and forth. But let's give the community and state, the area, the region, whatever you want to call it, time to apply, and let's see who jumps on the application board.
Good.
Right, and I just heard it immediately from this person who I think is perfect for him, who has done it in Dallas. He doesn't have a degree, and he kind of talked to me. He said, you know, hey, you know, I noticed on there it's a required qualification. Is that going to be a problem? And, you know, and I think we have the same understanding in between us, you know, which is, you know, not really. If you're the right person, it's all good. But I just wanted to make sure that was seeing how all of this is so technical. If it was going to mess something up down the line, I wanted to just put it out there that this is something that made him also question whether he was in the right position. And as long as we have the understanding internally that, you know, that we're not gonna hold anyone to it, I think that'd be good. And like Derek said, this is a very unique position of, you know, we don't know what type of person really is going to be perfect for this, as long as they have the vision for it and seem like they can execute. Also, like you said, Guillermo, you know, that as long as we all kind of see, we're all going to know who the right person is. I'm cool with that. You know, I just want to make sure it doesn't limit us with someone like this.
I agree, and I'm sorry, Marcela, but I agree. All of us are going to be able to see the applicants. You know, all of us should be able to see every single application that gets submitted. So, you know, even if they do have a degree or they don't have a degree, we'll see them. But you know, let's just see who applies.
Well, but I think also, right, for protection, shouldn't we just not put a requirement? Because if somebody gets hired who doesn't have a degree but is listed there, and then somebody who does have a degree notices the person that was hired didn't, then they could have make some kind of, it would at least bad press.
Yeah,
I don't see anything
that was going to be my comment, Marcela. I'm sorry. I think it should go under the preferred qualifications, because we run into that issue where we end up hiring someone that doesn't have it, but it says that they're required to have it, and then we get a request for open records on this for whatever reason. Then we would need to explain why our requirements were not being followed on there.
I am on the fence with this. I do feel that we need to hire a person that has at least a bachelor's degree. That is my personal opinion. I'm going to put it on a vote. I don't know, motion to approve the change to bachelor's degree as a preferred qualification instead of a required. We don't have a required qualification. I mean, if we move this, hold on, please. Also, if we don't have a required qualification, I'm sorry, if we have the required qualification being bachelor's degree, it's going to be bachelor's degree. I mean, we cannot skip that. It's a legal issue. I have dealt with human resources in this regard. If you have it there, you have to comply with that. So if we're gonna move it to preferred qualification, it's okay. But just for you to know that it's going to be a preferred qualification.
Okay.
Okay.
Have the experience, it will affect us. So I'd like to motion to change the bachelor's degree requirement to a preferred qualification.
Second.
I agree.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this is when I say I do not agree with this change, and that's going to be the record, and that's it.
I would just add that in no way changes the value that we collectively put on them having a bachelor's degree. I would love for them to have a cultural degree as well. It doesn't change the priority. It just changes what it looks like and protects us a little bit and opens the field in the event not as many people, apply.
Exactly.
They will likely still have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't disqualify a bachelor's degree.
Right.
Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody that is not in favor? Which is Marcela, but that's okay. So I move it. I'll send you the final version then, and then we can start posting these to our social media. And then last item on the agenda.
Can I add something that's relevant to hiring? I just sent everybody a guidance on local government corporations.
Thank you.
And in that, we need to get a federal employer ID number.
I think we have one.
If we have one, great.
I'm almost sure we do. We do, right, Priscilla?
I
Priscilla?
do.
You know?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know.
I think we have one. I think we have a federal employee ID number, and I just learned that we have a nonprofit AC3. Please help me here. Number as well. Is that the name? AC3? We have a number for that as well. And I will send also those documents. Let me write this down. So I'm sending the incorporation agreement, because I think those numbers come in there.
Okay.
Marcela, what I can also do regarding like all of our paperwork and stuff, anything that you might have, you can send it over to me and I'll start building a binder. At Main Street, we have like an essentials binder and it basically has all of those important information like our Secretary of State stuff, IRS stuff, all in one notebook. That way, when we do have a executive director, we can kind of hand that over to them and they already have everything. So they're not trying to figure it out like we are trying to figure it out. So anything you might have, send it over to me and I'll put it together.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, and when I accepted the position as director of the chair of the board, I was not giving these documents. I'm just finding out about these documents. And I mean, it's great that I can share with all of you because I think we need to have all of us in the same page. We need to be all of us in the same page.
I wanted to ask, is it one position or is it two positions? Is it just the director or also like another manager? Or what's the total budget? Does anyone know?
Yes, that's a very good question, Roger. Okay, so in the budget is, I'm sending the budget as well. I can share the budget here, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to see.
I can't see it, but that's okay. I'll hear it out loud.
Yeah, and you can.
Whatever the main point is.
So in the budget we have, okay, there are two things that we have added to the budget. One is $50,000 for executive director, and that is negotiable. Also, we have $25,000 for some kind of assistant, which means could be a coordinator of volunteers with some staff assistant duties or things that they can do as a staff assistant type of person, and also support with the volunteers and then other educational programs. And then there is a little bit of money for workers' compensation and insurance for these two people, because one of the things that we have learned through this time is that people cannot live without health insurance. Or at least I feel at this moment that health insurance is super important. John said that someone can come with already a partner who has health insurance and they don't need that, then that money, I mean, that's why it's negotiable. If they don't need the money, that's fine. If they want to have, and here is where we decide if there's a negotiation, we can say, okay, we can transfer some of the health insurance money to salary. If not, we say, okay, 50,000, that's the max, that's it. We need to, when we are in that situation where we're negotiating salary, we're gonna have to make the decision. But yes, there is another position that can be another, like there's money for another type of position.
Great, thank you for clarifying that.
And without, I haven't read every sentence, but does it discuss the possibility of the position being temporary for whatever reason? Like, you know, if what happened, it's not sustainable.
At will. At will.
At will.
Right.
That's a good point.
That is a good question.
And I believe the condition also is that they make the organization sustainable, right? That's kind of like the
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
premise.
Yeah.
Right.
Like here's some seed funds, and no pun intended.
Marcela?
Yeah.
Kermit here. I apologize, but I'm going to have to sign out. I have a meeting I have to get into.
Okay.
If there's anything I can do, let me know. Send me an email, and I'm happy to help.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
So, okay. So let's, wow. We have 2 more items. We have also action regarding the lease agreement, but we have talked about that. Does anybody have how do we know when the carriage house will be ready for a person or an office space? John, do you have any idea? Are you the person that should know? Mr. JJ, who can help us with that?
It's going to be JJ.
Okay.
Are you talking about the lease agreement, or are you asking when the carriage house
I'm sorry.
is ready for move?
The actual carriage house.
Okay, that's JJ.
I'm sorry, Mr. Leo, you were breaking up a little bit. So what was the question again?
So do you know when the carriage house will be ready for a tenant and occupant?
Okay, no, I'm supposed to, the carriage house is being done by Mr. John Orfila, our public works. He's the one that's been contracting it out. I have a meeting with him on Monday afternoon regarding this. So I will give you all an email update to have you give you posted on dates and timeline and all what's going on. So if you would just give me till Monday when I meet with him, I will give you all a further update on this.
And then there is a grant available. I will send a link about that. I just wanted to mention it, and because I know it's 311. So so there's a grant available for funding for something similar to what we have here at Canseco. So, I mean, it's very urgent that we hire a person, that person can actually work on grants, because they're like right now, because of the situation, USDA is providing funding for urban agriculture. And this is just like, let's try to get this up and running. I have, I have sent the information to Priscilla, but if anybody would like to be part of like a grant funding committee with me and Priscilla, you're welcome. And probably we can work on a grant for finding funds for LCIS very soon.
I also want to mention, Marcela, I just got an email this morning about the Webb County is opening up their third-party funding for the next fiscal year. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of get in there. Hopefully they'll take us in. But the application is due June 30th. So that's something that if you all would like to start that, we would need to start that quickly.
So we have the grant, and then we have the Webb County third-party funding application. So if anybody else, but Priscilla and I, Priscilla, you're the unofficial official person assigned to this, but if anybody else would like to add, we'll be happy to work with us. Please just let me know.
Could you put this in writing, and then I could share that with some of the volunteers? Maybe there's somebody in that group that would be interested in doing it.
Absolutely. That would be awesome. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of our agenda. I will motion to adjourn this meeting. If anybody has anything else to say.
Yes, I do. When is first of all, when is the next meeting? And second of all, I sent an email out because I'm coming up with a roster of everybody. I have everybody's email address, and if everybody could just reply with the phone number that they would like printed on this roster, it would be given out only to us. So that way, in case we need to speak to each other, we know how to do that.
So where do we reply, Guillermo? Here?
You just send me an email. That's probably the quickest and most efficient way.
Okay. Motion to adjourn this meeting, or I adjourn this meeting?
I make a motion.
Before adjourning, I just wanted to thank you, Marcella and Mr. Gomez. Thank you, just because what happened is unprecedented, and the fact that we were able to go in there and save the crop, and it worked out so efficiently. It took a lot of extra time, so just wanted to be sure to express that on behalf of the volunteers, and it's not unnoticed.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You know, we're here to, our department's here to help you guys, and whatever we need, y'all, we're here to help you all out. Anything we're here, anything y'all need, let us know. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Thank you. Anybody in favor? Everybody in favor?
Is that Maita?
Yes.
Yes, that was Maita. Well, thank you so much. Next meeting will be in June. Let me look at the calendar. Is this a good time for everybody? It's a Thursday, June 11.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you in a month. We'll keep in touch anyways by email. Thank you so much.